Hello students, in this video I am going to tell you about the term synapse. As in last video we have seen the structure of neuron and how it works. And also we have seen about the sensory and motor neurons. So in this video I am going to tell you about the synapse. So first thing, what is the meaning of synapse, or this can also be pronounced as synapse? So it is the space between one axon of one neuron and dendrite of another neuron is called synapse. You can see in this diagram that if this is a nerve fiber, this is axon, nerve endings, synaptic knobs, and then another dendrites. So this space is called as synapse. Actually, in the synapse there is no any physical contact. It means they are neurons are not intermingled, but there is association of two neurons, and these association are totally chemically. They are not physically associated with each other. So you can say this is the space of one axon and the dendrites of another neuron. This is called as synapse. There is another term which is given in your NCERT, that is known as neuromuscular junction. So what is the meaning of neuromuscular junction? Neuromuscular junction, it is, you can see here, this is a muscle, this is muscle, and this is a axon which is attached with this muscle. And once you just elaborate this particular portion, you can see how the synapse occur here. So I am going to tell you in detail about this. So if anybody asked what should be the definition of neuromuscular junction, you can tell them that the synapse between neurons and muscle cells or glands or effector organs, which I explained you earlier. Synapse between neurons and muscle cells or glands or effector organs is called neuromuscular junction, and it is found which deliver the impulses into muscles or gland. So how this impulse can occur? So first thing we will see what is the passage of impulse. So first thing, what is impulse? Impulse is a self propagated electric current and that travels from one end to another end of a neuron for the passage of a masses. So you can say that the pathway is like stimulus, dendrite, cell body, then axon terminal, then axon, then axon terminal, then passage of impulse. So you can see in this diagram, this is axon and this is the dendrite of another neuron. So I think this structure is very clear to you. If it is not clear, you can go through this diagram also. See here, this is axon, axon terminal. This is known as presynaptic membrane. These are the synaptic vesicles. There are so many mitochondria, and this is the direction of impulse. And you can see here, these vesicles are filled up of some chemicals, and these are known as neurotransmitter. These chemicals are known as neurotransmitter. And this is the dendrite. This whole structure is dendrite, and this is axon. So you can see in the dendrites there are so many receptors present for neurotransmitter, and this one is called as postsynaptic membrane. This is known as presynaptic membrane, and the space between presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane, this is called as synaptic cleft. It is just like khai in Hindi. So this is presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane, and this is known as synaptic cleft. As I told you that there is no any physical contact between two neurons, but they are associated, their messages are conveyed, some sort of neurotransmitter which is released by these vesicles. So once a stimulus is received by a neuron, it travels through it in the form of electrical disturbances. These how it can convert into electrical disturbances, it will you study in class 11th in detail, how a message is converted into a electrical impulse. So in this class 10th, you just know that once a stimulus is gained or received by a neuron, it travels in the form of electrical impulse. And during rest, the outer surface of a neuron is positively charged while the interior has negative charge. So that's why it happens. So you can see here, this is a direction of impulse, and the impulse is passed on to the next neuron, an organ or muscles or gland in the form of neurotransmitter. And what is neurotransmitter? Neurotransmitter is a chemical secreted by axon terminal for transmission of impulse to the next neuron, muscles, glands or organ. It can be acetylcholine. Here is the example of acetylcholine. This is acetylcholine, and it can be broken down into acetic acid and choline. So acetylcholine, noradrenaline, uh, gamma aminobutyric acid, there are so many types of neurotransmitter is released. So, what is synapse? Again, I am telling you that it is a narrow gap containing communication junction between two neurons and where an axon terminal comes in near contact with dendrite of dendrite terminal of next neuron. You can see here this is axon and this one is dendrite. So uh, axon terminal is expanded to form a presynaptic knob or button. You can see here this is presynaptic knob or button. The dendrite terminal is slightly broadened and depressed. You can see here it is slightly broadened and depressed uh, to form postsynaptic depression. So a narrow fluid filled space called synaptic cleft which occurs between the two, and as the impulse arrives or received, it reaches the presynaptic knob and it reaches the presynaptic knob and it stimulates the secretion of or release of neurotransmitter into cleft. This is the cleft area. Neurotransmitter molecules come in contact with membrane of postsynaptic depression. These are the receptors where it comes. These neurotransmitter comes in contact with these receptors uh, and it function as stimulus and produce an impulse in the dendrite part of the second neuron. So you can see here that it is released here, these neurotransmitter, and it is taken by these receptors, and now the stimulus is forwarded towards dendrite. So because of the release of neurotransmitter on one side of the synapse, impulse travel through the neurons only in one direction. So the direction of impulse is like this only, in one direction only. It cannot be revert back. So this is all about the synapse.